All right, here we are back with another episode of the Addictively Speaking podcast. My name is James. I'm your host. With me is Calliese, and she is part of the Recovery Academy. I had an interview with her mom not too long ago, and I thought it was great. A lot of great information she gave me, and now I am speaking with her daughter, and we're going to talk about all things recovery and just get into some great stuff. Hi, how are you? You good?
Good. Yes.
All right. So let's just give the listeners a brief introduction of who you are and what you're doing, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. So my name is Calliese. I like to say I'm recovering from life because for me it wasn't just about substances or alcohol. It was childhood experiences, domestic violence, food, men, money, just the list goes on. And so, yeah, that's kind of the way I like to describe myself in recovery. But I have not used drugs or alcohol in over 5 years. So that's amazing because my recovery journey really started whenever I was like 19 years old, in and out of rehab. Since it's about patient programs, sober livings, I just went through it all, jails, institutions, the list goes on. And I am from Texas. And then I moved to England 5 years ago on the 17th of this month. So that's kind of a little celebration. Is this month? Yeah, it'll be 5 years
Wow.
since I moved to England. And I tried to get support in the UK whenever I moved here because I moved here like 90 something days in recovery. And then whenever I'd gone to a drug service, they had said, you've already received more support than what we can offer. But if you go out and pick up a drink or a drug, we can put you on the wait list for a 12-week program. And I was like, great. This is what a great start. I've just landed to the country and this is how I was greeted. But
Wow.
yeah, so I couldn't really find the support I wanted. And then I knew from being able to access recovery support in the US because I went to like Missouri and like Colorado and like Texas and stuff. Like I was like, there people just need more support. So I thought that I could kind of like change the system. So I started working at a drug service, the same drug service that denied me for supporting me. I was like, I'm gonna change the system. And then I realized the system was corrupt and I was just one little old fish in a huge pond, lake, ocean, whatever we want to call it. And
Right.
then whenever COVID happened, we were like, mom, my mom was like, I want to do something and I wanted to do something. And we both have experience in our in recovery. We're a family in recovery. Um, and so we just kind of wanted to start recovery coaching because I had access to a recovery coach in Texas whenever I couldn't find support here in the UK. My recovery coach in Texas supported me across the ocean. And I think that
Oh,
everybody
that's
should be able to,
amazing.
yeah, I think everybody should be able to access support, whether it's 12 weeks, 2 years. I was just saying to you before, like my best friend passed away, and like I've just started coaching again with somebody else. Like I was like, I think I'm going through stuff. I need to get some support for myself. So I've just started my own coaching sessions. We say every good coach needs a coach too. So it's always good. But yeah, so then we have Recovery Coach Academy, and it's hard to describe what Recovery Coach Academy is because we do a lot of stuff, but we basically have a huge community and we train people and we work with organizations and businesses that want to implement and learn about recovery coaching. We also do a lot of work with Faces and Voices of Recovery UK and providing education and workshops and all sorts of stuff. We've got something for everybody.
That's good. That's good. So being a recovery coach, all right. Can you get jobs in the field? Are there jobs in the field available in the UK? Uh,
That's a good question.
yeah.
So what's really interesting is when we started recovery coaching, my mom was like, go, they always say, go look up your competition, right? So like go see what you
Mm-hmm.
can find online. And the word recovery coach had not been used in the UK until we started Recovery Coach Academy. Like when you go to Google Analytics, SEO, keywords, all of that stuff, the word recovery coach had never been used in the UK.
Do they use different terminology then for? Because I know they
Well,
use.
they call them recovery worker, support worker, peer mentor,
Okay. Yep. Peer
but
support, things of that
peer
nature. Yeah.
support, yeah, but the words recovery coach had never been used in the UK. And the thing is like they have recovery workers, and that's within drug services. if you want to work in recovery, you normally have to work it within a drug service or like a local. Sometimes you can find some really decent grassroots organizations and stuff like that, but it's not always recovery coaching. A recovery coach meets people where they're at. Like I say all the time, there's not. It can be for family members, friends, allies. Anybody can access a recovery coach. There is no discharge date. We're very flexible. It's a human role. The role of a recovery coach is a human role. And so the thing is now you're starting to see job descriptions that say they're hiring recovery coach. But what I will say from my personal experience is the drug service I worked for, I was hired as a support worker, and then I moved up to a recovery worker position, which is higher than a support worker. But
Right.
now they recently were listing some jobs for recovery coaches, and I went to look at them, and they were the same job description that I had in my role as a support worker and a recovery worker. So because recovery coach has become a trending word here in the UK, people are saying that they are hiring recovery coaches when the role is not that of a recovery coach.
So they're just changing the terminology, but not actually change. Like
The
it's not
role, the
actually
job
what you
description
guys are
is not
doing.
changing. No,
Yeah.
like we have people in our community who say, "Oh, I'm so excited, I've got this job," and they end up quitting within a week. They're like, "No, no, no, this is not the job of a recovery coach, and I'm not doing that. This is a support worker's role."
Right, because the support worker is quite different, and it's a lot. It's not.
A
I
support
wouldn't say
worker
it was
is
more like a human role. It's not like a person to person
no,
care type
it's
role.
normally
You're
a
just
nine to
kind of there
five.
to.
Boundaries, whenever I was in my role as a support worker, I spent more time doing admin and paperwork than I did actually
Yeah.
supporting the people. And that's whenever I always tell people, I say, look, I like people, I don't like paper. I'm not here to complete all your data entry. I want to have a conversation. That's
Yeah, I think I found the same thing. Is that there's more. It's more about being able to do the admin bits than it is about meeting, like you said, meeting people and actually figuring out how you can help them.
mm,
Um, because I applied for a couple roles over here that were like recovery specialist or things like that, and I didn't get them. And they were like, "Well, you just don't have any experience." I was like, "I have 11 years of recovery. What do you mean I don't have experience? I've lived it. What do you
I know.
mean?" And they're like, "Yeah, but there's a lot of paperwork and there's you're gonna have to fill out all these things." And I'm like, "Right, yeah, I get it. I can fill out paperwork, but I also can work with people who need help,
Hmm.
and hopefully show them that, look it, I'm 11 years sober. Look at what I've done."
Hmm.
I think it's like a lead by example thing. You show people and you say that you can do this too.
Let's
But
hope.
I mean, that's not the role that they're looking for. They're
Mhm.
looking for somebody who's like a data entry clerk that meets people and says, "What are you using? When are you using? How much are you using?" Tick, tick,
Hmm.
tick, tick, tick.
Hmm. It's a checkbox system, and like, don't get me wrong, we need support workers just as much as we need recovery coaches, just as much as we need clinical specialists. We need all of those roles. That's just not my lane. I tried it. That's just not my lane. Some people are amazing support workers, and that's great. That's just not really for me. That's what I say.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely. I don't think I would do well in a situation like that. I would more want to be, you know,
I'm a hands-on.
face to
I want
face,
like I want to get
interacting.
like let's have a conversation. Tell me why you feel that way. Tell me why you're
Yeah, and I
angry.
think I think too,
Let's
like
go.
being real with people about
Yeah.
shit is more up like you go I think for people in addiction and stuff, like, if you go in there and you're just you have no idea, like, you maybe got a degree in something or do you know what I mean? Like, you're not at their like, you're not meeting them where they're at, you're still you're above them. Like,
Oh yeah, that's so
do you
it.
know what I
Like in
mean?
the
Like,
yes, and the
that
thing
turns a
is
person off straight
oh,
away.
the thing is with the role of a recovery coach, there is no hierarchy. Like whenever I'm coaching people, I'm like, girl, how's your mom? What's going on? And like it's about us just having a conversation. I'd have a conversation with my recoveries just like we're doing now. And
Yeah.
it's not about I would say too, like you can't BS the BSer. So don't sit here and try to tell me that you do all this stuff and you're gonna support me whenever I'm like, you're not paying attention to me, you're not looking at me, you don't know anything of what I'm talking about. So please don't, please don't try to act like that. And that's what it is too. Like, I want to be I want people to be real with me. I mean, I've been lied to so many times, right? In my active addiction through the systems and all these promises, whatever, where like the last thing I need is somebody to sit here and pretend to be something. I want like genuine authenticity in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with the Recovery Coach Academy, I know that your mom had just gone to, was it Qatar? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're doing, I mean, this is huge
It's
stuff. I mean,
it's
this is
gone
getting big.
global.
So that's
Yeah.
amazing.
It
What
is
was, I mean,
amazing. It's scary. It's amazingly scary too, you know.
yeah.
We we didn't plan on it being all like that. We just wanted to make an impact locally, and then it turned out globally. I guess you could say.
Hey,
Yeah,
take it. Why not? Right?
exactly. Yeah. So
That's
she just
amazing. I mean, that's especially like in a place like Qatar, because I imagine it's not culturally different. I mean, it's a lot of different things with religions and things like that. So it would be imagine tricky because I don't think I'd imagine addiction over there is kind of frowned upon and not taken too well, is it?
well, I mean that just addiction is a global thing. It doesn't matter as much as it might be frowned upon. It's frowned upon everywhere. Let's be honest. And I think, and you know, something my mom says is just like we were saying earlier. Like I'm from Texas, you're from the U.S. Like cultural differences between the UK and the U.S. are really out there. But then like wherever we go, there's always going to be cultural differences. And my mom said that no matter what, every obstacle or barrier we thought we were going to face, recovery will always find a way. And I think that's really beautiful.
Oh yeah, that is really beautiful. So you are with Faces and Voices of the UK, youngest
Yeah.
board member,
Yes.
youngest.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Oh, everybody loves this story too. And it's like,
Yeah,
it's so crazy. So whenever this was probably 2 years ago, and I've been involved with Favor UK since I moved to England, just because my mom was involved with Favor UK prior to me moving to England. And that's probably 2 years ago, yeah. And I'd said, how can Favor UK say that they represent all the faces and voices of recovery in the UK whenever their board is full of middle-aged white men? And I said, where's the diversity? Where's the parent? Where's the child? Where's the grandma and the different religions and cultures? And you know, how, because let's just face it, the UK has more than just middle-aged white men
yeah,
that are in recovery. And
yeah,
and my mom said, well, what are you going to do about it? And I said, well, what do you mean? I said, they're going to eat me up like a shark tank. Like it's going to be like a shark tank if I try to do something. She says, well, what are you going to do? Like nothing changes until something changes. And I was like, oh, shit, you know? So I called, I FaceTimed the CEO and well, I messaged her and I said, can we have a conversation? And I just told her, I said, look, this is the way that I feel. Like, why are there not more young people represented? And I know from my experience, like, a lot of people look at young people like, oh, okay, they don't really know. Like, where they're not looking at me as like a valuable party that has some value to bring to the conversation or value to bring to the table or ideas that could be innovative or help solve problems. They look at me as the
right.
young person, the little girl in the room. And so I said that to her, and she was like, okay, you know, shit, didn't even think about that. Like, didn't think about that. And so they had invited me to come sit on a couple board meetings, and then I did. And then they had asked me if I wanted to become a board member. And naturally I said yes, because that's another thing is like, I want young people, you know, there had never been a young person on the Faces and Voices of Recovery UK board until I was. And my hope is that somebody who's 18 years old sees that I'm a board member and it's like, shit, I want to do that too. Or I didn't even know that was possible until she did it. And you know, she's young, so I can do those things too. And I think it just provides hope. But what I will
It's
say as well
inspiring.
is,
It's inspiring.
well, and what I will say too is like, I did notice like things were different. Like whenever the first year that I was a board member, it was during COVID. And so I had planned 30 virtual speakers, like from all over the world. I plan 30 like virtual speaker events where, you know, somebody come talk about language and recovery, somebody come talk about meditation and recovery. Like I planned all of these events, did it all by myself, marketed it all. And then like whenever I'd gone to the board meeting, like that, and she was like, oh my gosh, we reached like 35,000 people, or like we did this and all the stats were so good. And then the board was like, oh, okay, maybe she is good. And I'm like, none of y'all, why did I
Yeah.
have to go above and beyond to prove myself when it shouldn't even be that way? But potato,
I think it's
I'm gonna take it one day at a time.
your young people are viewed as people with not enough lived experience to contribute. I think that's not true. I think we now live in an age where young people can contribute a ton more because you have
Mm,
the Instagram and TikTok, and to be able to share everything on the social media platforms where a 50-year-old white guy is not going to know how to do any of that or how to market stuff.
mm,
He's not going to know how to create, these things that can generate lots of views and lots of attention, you know, and
mm,
you can basically start a campaign on TikTok and it can take off and go to, you guys know you use your social medias all the time for promoting
yeah.
whatever you have going on, which is a super useful tool. And older people not going to be able to do that, and not going to be able to do it. If they are going to be able to do it, they're going to outsource it to a young person
Mm-hmm.
when they could just have a young person like you already on board with the ideas ready to roll them out, which is
Mm,
a huge benefit to them. So
yeah,
bravo on you
exactly.
for changing that and bringing young people to the forefront.
I think too, like when we give people permission, like they feel valued, they feel useful, and actually, like there was research that shows their productivity increases. Like they actually work above and beyond. They actually give more to you because they feel valued, they feel empowered, they feel good. I mean, think about it. If you were working, or I'm trying to think about an example, and they're like, actually, James, I trust you, dude. Like, you just take the whole lead of this project. Tell me what you think. Like, you're gonna go off, and you're like, oh my god, I'm so excited. Like, he told me he trusts me, and I have so many ideas for this, and I cannot wait to share them. And blah, blah, blah. Right? When we give people
Yeah,
permission,
absolutely.
they bring back
Absolutely.
amazing stuff.
Nice. All right. So you said that you're recovering from life,
Mm.
and that's a lot of experiences. Is it all like trauma based stuff that you're trying to, like what are you doing? What do you do on a daily to cope with everything? Like what does your
Ooh.
recovery look like for
Oh,
you?
that's
Like
that's a
what do you
great
do?
question. We say
Yeah, because
the
I know a
best.
lot of people do a lot of different stuff to like cope with
Yeah.
life, and how do they, how do you find the balance? What are some things that, could be helpful to other people, like, meditation or anything, walks?
Mm, mm.
What are some things that you
Uh,
do?
so I am well. So like I'm kind of going through a different phase right now. Like I had mentioned, I don't have a problem sharing. Like my best friend died 3 weeks ago from alcohol, and she was 32 years old. So this is again what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Uh, and we started our recovery journeys at the same time. Me and her, we would both be in and out of different rehabs, and we would be sharing our stories and all sorts of stuff. But like I found recovery, and her pathway of recovery was different. She lived in Colorado, she smoked weed, but she was trying to stop drinking. But due to, there's a lot of stigma within the recovery community, I feel like, as well. Different pathways of recovery. You know, I remember one time I went to a meeting here in the UK whenever I had first moved here, and there was like an NA meeting, a CA meeting, and an AA meeting there. And I walk up to the door, and the guy said, "Oh, you're part of the non-applicable club, huh?" And like I'm like, listen here, buddy. First of all, I'm so grateful you found recovery. But just because I'm doing something that is different than you does not mean I am non applicable. And that's it. So whenever people are dealing with that, imagine if that would have been somebody's first meeting and that's how they were greeted. Would they go back?
Yeah.
Would they reach out for support? Probably not.
No,
I
absolutely
shouldn't
not.
have. And
No,
so
yeah.
so she had been given a lot of, the comments about, oh, she wasn't in recovery because she still smoked weed. And I really believe, like I said, I just published a blog literally like, I think like 2 days ago. And we talk about many pathways of recovery. And normally I would give you this amazing explanation of the many pathways of recovery. But whenever I lost my best friend, I think what I've realized is the pathways of recovery, it's love. Just love them anyways. Like, because whenever I reflect on my experience with my best friend, I didn't care if she used. I didn't care if she, even wanted to call herself in recovery. I didn't care what language she used. I just wanted her to be happy and well. I just loved her for who she was. It didn't
Yeah.
matter all of those things. I just loved her, and I was going to be there to support her no matter what she chose, because I loved her and I cared. And so I
Yeah.
think if we can just love them anyway and just remember they're human, like they
Yeah.
it goes so
I
much
think that's the
farther.
thing that people lose the most when it comes to addiction and stuff is that you lose the human aspect. People become junkies or crackheads or people that aren't worth saving, which is a shame that you would want to throw people away based on they're a heroin addict or they're a crack addict or they're an alcoholic or whatever. Um, those labels stick to
Mm,
people and that damages people in their future because you're just like, oh, well, you're just a crackhead.
mm,
They're a person. They're somebody's brother. They're somebody's sister. They're somebody's daughter. They're somebody to somebody, right?
yeah,
And I think
yeah.
you lose that because people get so desensitized to it. So
And
it's a
it's
shame that she probably got forced out of recovery because what they didn't accept that she was. I guess they call it what do they call it now, California sober, don't they? Where people, I think
I
that's
don't
the
even
term.
I can't even keep up with all the trendy
Yeah.
terms these days.
Somebody said that to me before. They were like, "Oh, yeah, like, you don't do anything? You don't do any drugs?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I don't really have a problem with weed, but, like, I don't smoke it, but I don't have a problem with it. I don't see it like I see other drugs." And they were like, "Oh, California sober." And I was like, "Never heard that, but alright."
Mm.
Um, so, yeah, I guess it's a thing. It's a term that people are using for people who don't use anything else, but they will smoke weed occasionally.
And
So,
like I say, like I don't really care about what people do as long as they're happy. Whatever makes you happy, like I think that's it. I into like what you were saying about the labels, like there's this quote and it says like defying a person uh by nothing more than their disabilities is one of the most damaging and dehumanizing forms of language. And I was just like, wow, that's like really powerful, because if somebody has cancer, they're not all of a sudden stigmatized because they've got cancer or
no.
diabetes or anything else. It's like, oh, they're sick. Okay, but anyways, I can get on a whole rant about that stuff. So my recovery today, because I have been going through this stuff of like experiencing grief for
Yeah.
this time, I found this note in my, I mean, I write a lot of notes anyways, just because I facilitate training and people always say stuff and I'm like, oh, I like that, or that's an interesting question, or I don't know. And it said, I don't know whenever I wrote it, I don't know why I wrote this, but it said, I think I need somebody to walk with me a little bit closer to help me find clarity. And I found that like a week after my friend died. And I was like, ooh,
Wow.
okay, that's really interesting. Like I said, I don't know why I wrote that. I don't know when I wrote that. But I was like, I think I'm going to take this as a sign for me to get some support. So,
Yeah.
so then I know one of the coaches in our community, and she's just very heartfelt. She's very person centered, and I want to say I'm going to use the word delicate because I've been in a delicate state where I feel like I was like, I think she I just need some loving, and she gives loving. I just, and it's really interesting. So I reached out to her and I said, I think I need some support and I'm going to take this as a sign. And I think you're my person. Can we have a conversation? And she was like, of course. So I'm actually getting coaching each week now. I see a recovery coach every Monday. For me, I do a lot of walking. I do a lot of art. I painted this one recently. Still need to hang it up. But it says, be
Oh,
kind.
cool.
It says, be kind and continue. I love to do a lot of art. I didn't know how to, whenever I started my recovery journey, I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to talk about my feelings because for so long I lived in a house where it's like, you're not supposed to speak about what happens in the house. You're not supposed to speak about what happens in relationships. You're not supposed to. So I didn't know how to talk about things that had happened in my life. And then one of the recovery coaches at my rehab saw me like looking at this art room and was like, interesting. You want to try to paint, or draw or something, how you feel. And I actually have an art journal where every day I painted how I felt. And it's like I still have it today because it's just that's what got me to start getting into my recovery. That was the thing that got me
Oh,
started.
that's
It
amazing.
wasn't
That's
another.
cool because it lets you articulate what you're feeling without ever having to express it verbally, which is like
Yeah.
for you would probably be quite therapeutic. And then
Yeah.
you don't have to say all the stuff that's going on up here. You can just
Yeah.
paint the picture and say, this is what I feel.
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
so, yeah, it's actually really good. And so I started doing that. I'm a very curious person. I'm down for anything. So like I will try anything. I will do anything. Um I write a lot. Like I said, I love learning. Like so I'm constantly reading and writing or doing online learning or trying to Google something or just reading about how to do something just because I'm a very curious person. I make DIY clothing. Like I've just done all sorts of. I'm very crafty, I guess you could say. Uh, and then I walk like 5 miles a day. On top of that, when the weather's good, don't get me wrong, I live in the woods, which is nice for me. I'd like to go. I like to go fishing, but I don't know how fishing goes here in the UK. I still need to figure that out. But I'm just very all over the place for my recovery today. I guess lately, what I've been doing is I've been doing a lot of soul work, and I think what's really interesting is to see what we choose to work on in our recovery journey. Last year I chose to really work on my self worth because and my confidence. Like I was always like
Yeah.
beating myself up and thinking I wasn't good enough or comparing myself or defensive about everything. I took everything as an attack when really it's like nobody was out to attack me. That was just the way I perceived that. And then, yeah, I guess experiencing grief for the first time in my recovery now, like hard grief, I've been exploring that and looking at where that's coming from and trying to notice what I'm feeling and actually label those feelings and find words to describe those feelings. It's all really interesting and really deep, I tell you, but it's good for the soul. There you go.
Yeah, it is a very tricky thing to navigate is losing somebody that you care about in recovery because like you said it's your first time and we spoke earlier I said I lost my mom and it was it's one of those things where you're like shit, how am I going to do this? What am I
Mm.
going to do now? Because it's huge. So it's good that you have the wherewithal to like look within yourself and
Oh,
start to
yeah.
figure out how to process those because like like me pre sobriety would have been an absolute nightmare. So it's
Mm.
good that like in recovery that you have a lot more clarity in your life and you can kind of like look at stuff and be like, this is why I'm feeling this, this is why I'm doing this,
That's
how do I
it.
fix this, how do I navigate. So those are huge steps like in recovery as well because you're dealing with something that's huge, that's a trigger that makes people slip. So bravo on you for looking inside yourself and starting to work on that because that's where it
Yeah.
starts. The work is always with you, isn't it? It's always
Yeah. It's an
constantly.
internal thing, right? It's always an
Yeah.
internal thing.
Yeah. It's always like looking to be the best version of you and
Mm.
figure out how to continually do that. And what are those steps to, you know, what are the best steps to like bring good things into your life and put good things out of your life and, you know, keep
Well,
moving.
yeah, and that's it. And I say, I am a facilitator and I train people where that I always tell them, I said, how can I support people on a journey of self discovery and self improvement if I myself am not on that journey as well?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
don't that's it. Like, I have to continue to do this work on myself if I'm going to support others to improve themselves. I need a role model that, hey, I take care of myself too. and I reach out and I get support for myself whenever I need it as well.
Yeah, exactly. You got to lead by example. You got to show people what's going on, like how you're doing it, because sobriety, it doesn't like once you found it, it doesn't mean like that's it. All the work's done. It's like I have 11 years sober, but that doesn't mean that the 12th year is guaranteed, is it? I have to keep
Mm,
constantly doing the things in my life that have kept me on this path, like, and figure out what are the new things in my life that I can do to continue on this journey. So
yeah,
it's an
exactly.
evolving thing every year, every day that goes past. You're just constantly figuring out how to keep going and what are some of the things you're going to keep doing and what are some of the things you're going to not do anymore because they served a purpose for now and I'm going to move on to something different.
I think it's really interesting. We talk about the stages of recovery in our training, and within stages 5 to 10, it says like the outer world starts to match the inner world, and like I think that's like really beautiful because whenever I think about, you know, I carried a lot of shame and guilt being a mom in recovery, and I was told I was a bad parent like for so long, and so then it's like today I'm a fucking good mom. Like I have date nights with my son every Saturday. We've been doing that for almost 3 years now. Like if something happens, he knows I'm there. Like you can, I mean, everything, homework, school, whatever. And I'm very grateful to have like support with my family. But today, that's what my life is. It's like I want to be a better mom. I want to like spend time with my son. This Sunday, like last Sunday, we were like laid out on the trampoline reading our books. Like that's happiness to me. That's joy. That's simplicity. That's like being present in the moment and like nurturing those experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, I can completely agree with you on that. Like my two little boys they're absolutely amazing and I'm lucky that I fix myself, fix my life, built something I never thought I'd have. And now I get
Mhm.
to enjoy all the things that I never thought I'd have because I thought it was going to ruin my life. And now I have these two beautiful little boys that I get to spend time with and share experiences and hopefully, you know, be a role model to them and show them,
Mm.
you know, all the good things that I can do in my life and that, hopefully they'll be able to be inspired by their father, you know.
Oh yeah. And our kids are always listening. I tell you, when my son, he came home from school one time and he had said they had just gotten back from a school break and one of his friends told him that their dad drank all school break. And he was like, his friend said, "Oh, my dad drank all school break." And my son said, "Well, you need to tell your dad he needs a recovery coach." And then my son came home and told me about this, and I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, he definitely needed a recovery coach. He was drinking the whole school break." And I was like, "Oh my goodness."
Yikes. Could you imagine
But
that kid's gonna go home and be like, "Dad, you need to fix yourself. Something's going on. You need to
well,
talk to
then
somebody."
yeah, then like he had got given a test at school about like alcohol, what alcoholic drinks do you know, or whatever. My son put mocktails down, you
Oh.
know. So our kids are listening. They're learning, whether we realize it or not. But at the end of the day, I just think at least he's trying to help somebody else, I guess.
Oh, that's great. So,
Yeah.
what else you have a recovery walk coming up
Yes.
that's in September in Hull. Can you
Yes.
talk about that? And you've taken this from the States as well. They do it in America as well. So is
So
kind of
Faces and Voices of Recovery UK, Faces and Voices of Recovery originated in the US like, oh, I want to say 25 years ago, something
okay.
like that. It's been around for years. And then Faces and Voices, I don't know if you know this, but the UK is like 18 years behind the US when it comes to supporting addiction.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So we're a little behind here in the UK, just a smidge. But
Just
so
just a little bit.
I'm like just a smidge. So Faces and Voices of Recovery in the UK started 10 years ago. And so every year people put in a bid to host the recovery walk. So last year it was in Newcastle, it's been in Middlesbrough, and this year it is in Hull. And so we have a conference, and then we have a big walk, and it's for individuals, families, communities, allies, people who support the recovery process and people in recovery. And it's just to say, look, like, we do recover. Like, we're here outside on your doorstep. It's real. Recovery is visible. And yeah, it's beautiful. It's always so nice to see like families come and their kids, and there's shirts that say my daddy's in recovery or like my mom's in recovery. And it's like, this is
Uh,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice. Yeah, so it's just a big celebration of recovery, basically. Then,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It's
what
great.
needs. Those are the things that need to happen. Are more
Yeah.
celebrations of people that recover and the things that they can achieve. More people need to
Honestly, it's my
well, I think
favorite.
that's what needs to be focused on, really, isn't it? The big
Yeah.
achievements, the big things that people are doing in recovery instead of the things that are, the negative bits of it all.
Mm. Just yeah, that's it. And I think too, it's about like, community, connection. Let's come together. Let's celebrate. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, what your recovery pathway is. There's many pathways of recovery, and they all should be celebrated. We come together by our shared experiences. That's what unites us.
Yeah, and those are all wonderful things to come together over and to celebrate,
Yeah.
is building a community. Do you find it difficult to build a community in a place like you said where they're 18 years behind? In America, like it's
Mm.
more, I think from my experience personally, there's a lot more small groups in small regions all over the US with people in recovery doing all types of stuff, community service work. They're, doing cleaning up parks. They're speaking at school. They're just doing things out in their communities. I don't really see. I haven't from my personal experience. I haven't seen a lot over here in that regard.
Mm.
What are your experiences with that? Like, have you seen any like small based community groups of? Because I haven't really seen it.
So I'll tell you one that so it's actually in Northern Ireland, though. It's not necessarily in England. It's in Northern Ireland.
Okay.
But whenever last year, it's called Arc Fitness. I'd highly suggest if you want to look it up, please look it up. It's amazing. Gaz runs it. He's in recovery himself. It's beautiful. And they started recovery through fitness programs and stuff. And now it's turned into this whole community. And like literally the whole community comes together, right? And they have running events and just different celebrations and activities and all of this stuff. But whenever I went to Arc Fitness, I was really emotional because it was the first time. Like, I've always said that I miss recovery communities after moving to England from Texas, but like I felt that. I felt like I was in a real, authentic, genuine recovery community whenever I visited Arc Fitness. And for me to say that for 4 years that I've missed that, for me to have that
Yeah.
experience again and like all those feelings, it was very emotional for me. And I just was like, this is so beautiful. And the way that people care and love and just full of compassion, and everybody was so kind and loving. So I'd highly suggest look it up. It's amazing, but it's very rare to find. I have not found anywhere that competes with Arc Fitness yet.
Okay.
There are some places that are like trying, and they might get like a couple people involved. There's another, so there's a guy named Chris, and he started the Getting Clean project. And so what they do is like they make soaps and stuff, and they give it out to the homeless, and like, but it's like people in recovery that make soap to give to the homeless, and they do like cleanups and different things, and it's about cleaning the environment while building community and connection. And I think that's kind of
Yeah.
cool too.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
kind of cool. It's a very creative idea.
yeah,
About getting like, it kinda has, like, the double meaning, doesn't it? Like, getting
yeah,
clean and getting
yeah,
clean, right? And
yeah,
they're giving back to homeless people, which is,
yeah.
a lot of rough sleepers in the UK, I think, so that's a huge thing to help, provide some care, you know?
Exactly. Well, and the theme so every year we have a theme for the conference, and the theme for the conference this year is actually homelessness as well. So we'll be having like speakers and academics and researchers and talk about like how we can do better and stuff like that at the Favor UK conference, which all of that
Oh,
stuff
wow.
can
Okay.
be found. Yeah, all that stuff can be found on the Faces and Voices of Recovery UK.org website. Just in case. Sorry,
Nice.
I should have sent that link to you. I can send it to you if you want it, but
No,
yeah, good stuff.
well, yeah, you can send me the links. I'll post all the links, and it'll be all in the bio and stuff, so everybody can, hopefully get
Yeah,
click happy, check out the things that are going on in recovery. Um,
yeah.
you were saying that you, in our talk previous to this going live, you were talking about a research project. You're doing a research project.
Oh
There's going to be
yeah.
a big
So
research project.
well, here in the UK, people like to see the research. Well, where's the research to back this up? And it's like, okay. Um, so because we have recovery coaches and we have a recovery coach community and stuff, we have officially started our research project with the University of Lincoln. And it started with the University of Lincoln, but now it's kind of grown. So I think there's like 3 other universities involved as well. And we'll be measuring and tracking the positive impacts of recovery coaching and then be able to share that. So that's really exciting just because, when you have the research and the data, sometimes it opens more doors when we're trying to overcome barriers and obstacles. Having something like that can open the door for more possibilities.
Yeah, I think with that, like the data just provides more of a legitimacy, doesn't it? You have
Mm,
research to back what you're saying, and I think that's a huge thing, a step in a right direction for you guys because it puts a little bit
thank
more
you.
validity behind what you're doing. I mean, other than obviously, I think it's a an amazing thing that you guys are just built it out of nothing, and I think
Oh
that's
yeah,
huge. But obviously, the
crazy.
the 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 data behind it then puts you guys on another level. Then it gives you that added layer of like, look at guys, this is real. We're not feeding you some shit. This is the numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
This is helping people. So, and that usually, like you said, it'll open up more doors. There'll be more things that you guys are able to get your way into, you know,
Well,
and
I just
that's
say
huge for you.
too, like, we never want cost to be a barrier to people accessing. And like, if we can get more funding to then train people and then more people to be able to access recovery coaches, like, it's just a ripple effect. It really is. And it starts. That's how it works.
Yeah, and it has to start somewhere, doesn't it? It has to start somewhere where you
Exactly.
can, you know, do these things and then provide these services, high quality services, you know,
Mm,
that are it's not coming you're not it's not coming at a huge cost to people, that people can just access it and be able to access it easily without having to, like you said before, fit into a box. And if you don't meet those requirements, then we're sorry, we can't help you, or maybe just go out and use again and we'll put you on a waiting list. It shouldn't be that hard. It should just be a lot
no,
easier for
I
people to access
say
it.
Yeah, I say if whenever somebody is ready to access support, you have like a very small window. Like if somebody wants support, we should be swooping in and getting them that support immediately. Because I tell you, I don't know how many times I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get support, and then I wake up the next morning and I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah,
I've
exactly,
already changed my
exactly.
mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I think that's too, especially with people in addiction. There's a moment where they're like, maybe I should do something. And then if it's not immediately available, they're like, you know what?
never
Nah, I'm
mind.
not gonna do that. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna do that at
or
all.
I tried and it's not available. So oh well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or the care isn't or the care that they're looking for isn't the care that's offered,
Mm,
which is
that's
too, which is the thing. Like, what you're saying with meeting people where they're at. A lot of these places, that's not the approach. The approach is a lot more strict and strategic, and this is what you got to do, and this is how you got to do it, and this is what recovery looks like.
mm,
And for some people, that's automatically something that says, well, I don't want to do that, or that's not going to be possible for me. So you're pushing people back out there to go back to what they were doing because the service available to them isn't going to be the thing that helps them.
no, it's not. It's a very recovery is not rigid. It's very fluid and we just show up with care and compassion. And I always say the best thing we can do is I ask people, I'm like, how can I help? How can I help? And honestly, people will tell you. I mean, I have people that are like, Calliese, I just need to figure out how to do this and this. And then I feel like I'll be great. Great, let's get it going. What do you need me to do? Let's just have a conversation. People are really,
Yeah, it's the talks that really help, the person to
yeah,
person. You
yeah,
know, how do we make this work? What are some things that will help you get clean? What are some things that can help you? And it doesn't have to be like, all right, stop drinking tomorrow. It could
no,
be as simple as here's what we're gonna do. These are some
yeah,
of the things that we can do to help you. Because a lot of it too is environment, people you're around or people you associate with. I
hmm,
think I'm sure you can relate to that. Like you've moved away from people that you associated with previously in your past, which I'm sure makes it easier for you to start moving forward without any of those people tugging at you to come back. Because a lot of people
yeah,
go back into the same situation, and those people that are there are just going to go, "Hey, man, let's go for a drink," or "Hey, let's do some coke," or "Hey, let's," and you're right back in.
hmm.
You're
That's
right back
it.
in.
That's it. I did it
Yeah,
over and over again. I honestly say that moving to England was the best thing that I ever could have done for my life.
that's huge. Yeah, so it helped you change your trajectory.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's not for everybody. Not everybody has to change people, places, and situations, but for my recovery, I definitely had to do that.
Yeah, I think too. My recovery started too. Like I moved out of my hometown, and then I
Mm.
moved somewhere else. I continued on the same path for a while, and then moving away from my hometown made it easier to start moving into a different space. So I think it started slowly, but like moving away from that influence helped me to continue, like, so I continued to do the stuff I was doing, not to the extreme level I was at. So it does help, changing that environment just helps break whatever cycle you're in, because I noticed that it was easier to change once I was out of where I was
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
and the people I was around,
Mm.
because that toxic effect wasn't there anymore. I still was not great, but it obviously lessened the effect. I got out of it. At some point
Yeah.
I decided this is enough.
Yeah. It's just too easy. It was too easy for me to just fall back into old behaviors whenever I'm around it all the time.
Do you find it hard over here? Because I think for me, like the UK is quite alcohol based.
Mm.
I mean, they drink midday,
Yeah.
mid
All the
morning.
time. Good morning at
Yeah,
7
yeah,
a.m. Like,
yeah,
what's
yeah.
yeah.
Like first
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
pints are getting poured, and people are like, "Yeah, it's just we're gonna have a pint," and it's like, okay. Do you find it like? Is there a lot of like,
I
because
think
it is everywhere.
I think I never really thought about it. Like I just was looking I was so focused on recovery. Like this was my shot to get my shit together, to be a better, like to have I could live with my son. And I'm not gonna lie, my mom straight up said, if you use drugs or drink in my house, like you're on the streets. And I did not want to be homeless in a country that I had no idea, nothing about. So I think that was pretty much like, ooh, I'm not gonna risk that either. So I didn't even care like relapse, reoccurrence, like that wasn't an option for me. That wasn't an option. I was just focused on recovery. And so I just filled my life with recovery, and now I work with recovery. Like I literally filled my life with recovery.
Your
And
life
it's
is
just,
recovery.
yeah, that's it. Like that's
Everything you
strictly
do
what I
is
focus
recovery
on.
based.
And so I strictly just focused on that. And I think, but I do think here it is, I'm going to say it's difficult, like to find support. Even whenever I first moved to England and I was trying to go to mutual aid meetings, it's like a meeting might be 45 minutes away and then public transportation and getting there. And then you get home at 12 o'clock at night after you've taken it's like inconvenient. Like it's not easy. Like
Yeah,
recovery should be easy to access. And that's what
yeah.
I think is difficult.
And I guess that's your goal, right? Is to make recovery easy for people to access. You
Accessible.
know.
Yes, it should be. It should not be easier for me to go buy a beer or whatever than it is for me to go to get support for my recovery. That's a little interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's simpler to walk down to a corner store and buy yourself, you know,
Yeah.
a drink than it is to figure out where you can find support, which is
Yeah.
not the way it should be. We should be able
No.
to find it when you need it because that's like we said, like what we just talked about. There's going to be a moment where somebody goes, "I need to get help," and if that help's not right there readily available,
Mm-mm.
they've moved on from that moment.
Yep. Exactly.
So coming up on about 50 minutes here. So was there anything else that you wanted to get into? Is there anything else you want to promote or talk about?
Mm,
Anything that we
I'm
need
kind
to
of
know
easy.
about
Like I
coming up?
talk about everything. I mean, kind of great. Like if I could talk about anything, but I'm easy, good. If anybody wants to know anything, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to have a conversation. Like I said, I talk to everybody about anything, and yeah, I'm not like
All right.
super strict and analytical and like need to discuss. I have to mention this, by the way. No, I'm just kidding.
No, yeah, you're you're very chill. I like it. I like it. Makes it
Yeah.
easy. Conversation just flows. Lovely. All right. So we'll end it here. If you
Great.
guys
Thank you for
want to check
having
out
me.
any more of the information, head over to the Recovery Coach Academy.
Yeah.
Check out their links. They're going to be posted in the bio. Um, who else? Oh, I want to have a shout out to my guy who just did my new podcast logo, which is
Oh,
I love
nice.
it. It's great. His name is Eddie, and his his Instagram is Culture Soldier Geared. So check him out. He does freelance graphic design. He'll hook you up with a logo if you need any logos done. Any type of freelance design, this guy is the man. He hooked me up. I love it. Logo's great. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about your experiences and the great things you guys have going on at the Recovery Coach Academy. I did sign up. You guys have a free language seminar coming up, a
Yes, the
language in
Our Stories
recovery.
Have
I
Power
signed up for it
workshop. Yes.
because I want
Oh,
to I want to
yay!
I want to sign up for it because I wanted to
Oh.
learn about the language because language is super important. And I think I
Oh.
don't think about the things that I say, but I think like it's important that we're conveying the message in a certain way. So I signed up for it because I think I want to just get more insight onto the language of recovery and yeah, the things that we should be saying. So I just wanted to let you know that I signed up for that and I'm
Yeah,
looking
no, that's
forward to.
exciting. It'll be interesting because yeah, it'll be interesting to see
Yeah,
how it goes.
I was looking at I downloaded some of the stuff and was looking at some of the stuff that you guys had to download. So I was looking at that just
What were your thoughts? I'm just curious.
yeah, I mean, I just a lot of the stuff the wording of things and the phrasing of the way we say things. You don't think about it in your mind, but yeah, there's a lot of
Mm.
things that, the way you word things is super important because the
Can
way
I
you're presenting it to somebody else, like, for me, I'm now in a platform where I'm speaking to other people and I want to convey it in a message and have it come across positively and have it to reflect a good, you know, the recovery, and all that stuff that goes with it. I want it to come off to sound good and I want it to come to so that they hear it. So it hits their ears and it doesn't turn them away. And I think the language is important in that because if you're not speaking the right language, people can get turned off instantly,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah,
so I'm
definitely.
excited. I'm so excited to see what you guys have to offer. And, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll take
Yeah,
a recovery
I
coach
think I think
seminar
I
and
think you'll learn because it's so interesting. Because 'cause I'll say, like, for example, trigger, like that word, I'll never forget, like, one year I was doing, for Faces and Voice of Recovery, a lady was showing a video for her business or something, and she says, "I wanna put a big warning, like a huge trigger warning." And I said, "Well, if you tell people they're gonna get triggered, they might get triggered." She goes, "Oh my gosh, I never thought about that." And I
yeah,
said, like, so instead of saying, "Hey, you're going to get triggered," why don't we say, "Hey, this may activate some feelings for you. If it does, please reach out to your support network." And she goes, "Oh my gosh, that's so kind. That's so nice to say. It sounds so much better." And I'm like, "Yes, like it's
yeah.
just little things like that."
Yeah, see, to me, the language, I would say trigger and not think about like I have an episode that's called triggers That was one of my first episodes because in my mind, triggers is something that people in recovery are going through. There are going to be things in your life that trigger you to make you feel certain ways about things that are happening. And yeah, obviously, it doesn't
So whenever
connect in
you
my brain that
but whenever you think about the okay, if you what anybody in society, whenever they hear the word trigger, what do you think they think of? Not people in recovery, anybody in society.
guns,
That's the first thing that comes into my head.
guns. Yeah. That's the
So
American in us, though. We instantly think guns.
you think it's because we're American? I don't
I
know.
don't know, maybe.
No, because I think that's what it is people think about a trigger, right? And I'm like, that doesn't
Mm,
make people feel very good. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't want to be thinking of people thinking I'm talking about guns sometimes. Like, I'm all peace over here, but you know. But yeah, it is just interesting. Language is a very interesting dynamic. I think too, even just really quick, there's if you haven't read it, like Brene Brown wrote a book called Atlas of the Heart, where she talks about we need to educate people on the language to use to describe how they feel, because most people can only label that they have three emotions: happy, sad, or mad. Where it's like, really, what do you feel? And so, like, giving the people the language to talk about that stuff has been really interesting. I'd highly suggest it if you haven't seen it, because a lot of people don't
yeah,
know
I
how to
mean,
talk about that stuff.
it is interesting. That's why I signed up for it because I thought,
Yeah,
what language am I using? And when I'm talking to people, I'm conveying this message. And I do have people that listen, and I do have people that I'm speaking to. So, what is the message I'm conveying to them? And is
yeah.
it one that reflects the positive hope and inspiration that I want to convey? Is that coming across, right? And that's what
Wow.
I really need to be thinking about because I
Mm.
don't want people to listen and then go back into what they were. I want them to come and, find recovery and find that, that they can build something beautiful.
Yeah.
And I need to have the language to be able to do that.
Oh,
So
James, you might come back a changed man, like, afterward.
hopefully I'll be able to put some new stuff into effect
Yeah.
immediately. I hope
Yeah,
so.
that's it. That's great.
Yeah. I have a friend over here that's a drug and alcohol counselor, and she told me, um, over here, they don't use addiction. Addiction is it turns people off. That's why they use substance misuse or substance abuse. And I thought to myself, I was like, well, yeah, but why? And she said, if somebody walked up to you and said, you're an addict, would you come back to a program? Would you listen to what they had to say? And I'd be like, and I was like, no. And she's like, that's why. And I never, in my mind, I don't connect those two because all my life, when I found recovery, I just thought I was recovering from addiction. I
Mhm.
just thought I was an addict. I just thought I had, so I bought into all the stigma and stereotype and now use the language that I bought into, right? So yeah, it's just those little things that you can tweak it. And it's like, oh, substance
Yeah.
misuse does sound a lot easier. Substance abuse sounds less aggressive than addiction. You're an
Well,
addict.
I'd even push back on that. Like, so substance misuse. So that means misuse. Okay. So one, I didn't misuse my substances. I was actually very good at using them. So I didn't misuse them at all. Substance abuse, I never abused them. I was actually very delicate with them. I took care of my drugs. So what I challenge you to use is substance use disorder.
There it
Substance
is.
use, not misuse, not abuse, substance use. Boom.
Fantastic. See, I'm learning
Look,
something.
there
That's
you go
it.
already.
I, this is it. This is why I signed up for this. That's why I signed up for it. I'm gonna get these things, these nuggets.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to bring I'm gonna have to bring a notepad so I can write some stuff down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah, yeah,
I'll just go
definitely.
right back into being like, "You're an addict. You're addicted," and then people will be like, "I don't want to hear this guy," and I don't want
No.
that. All right.
Oh,
Well,
bless.
thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Hopefully,
Yeah,
we can
thank
stay in
you.
touch. I'd love to, come
Yeah,
on and do some more stuff with you guys. Hopefully,
definitely.
yeah, absolutely. We'll stay in touch. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your
Yeah, of
day to
course.
do this
I'm
podcast.
always happy to spread a little hope. That's what I
Here
do.
we go. I'm a hope dealer over here,
Oh,
dealing hope,
yeah. That's it.
hustling hope. All
Yes,
right.
sir.
You have a
Well,
great
thank
evening and
you.
thank you.
Have a good night. Bye.